Lunch pile. Oh, God. Love you. So I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about this book, which is totally different from the series. You know, my series ended. I went spiraling into a deep depression, trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I had a special agent that literally called me one day and said, I've got the craziest story, this case that we just finished, we just wound up, and you're not going to believe it. And he started telling me about the immortal Yoshi Kojima. Yoshi, I think, makes the character, the guy, in Catch Me If You Can, look like an amateur. He is paranoid, he is clever, he was here in this country, basically knocking out butterflies for almost 20 years. He was prowling the national park. It was amazing, and he got away with it. He was able to do anything he wanted. He made fun of law enforcement. They all knew it. It made them crazy. They couldn't catch him. But he's one of these guys. Japan has got this great reverence for nature. They love bugs. They love insects. Little kids, little boys, when they're growing up, go out into the forest, the woods, and they collect beetles. And they have fights as they're growing up. They put the beetles together, little fights. Yoshi was the kind of kid who would go out into the woods, and he would catch his bugs, his beetles, and he'd kill them. So he started very young as a collector, and it just grew, and his whole obsession grew. And he went and did many different things, but he always stuck with butterflies. He always came back to his one true love, which was amazing. As he was prowling the national parks in the U.S. and started wiping out species in different areas, he would go into one area of California, catch this butterfly called the Apache frigillary, which was this big, gorgeous butterfly on the eastern slopes of the Sierras. Legal to get, but only so many. He would go in, and within 2 days, he was a human vacuum cleaner, a true one-man wrecking ball. He knocked out 500 of them in 2 days, cleaned out the population, sold them all to Japan. Not a good thing to do, because other dealers start getting pissed. And that's when you're in trouble, because that's when they turn you into law enforcement. And the heat gathered on him, and he realized that people were turning against him. He went, great, no problem. He decided he was going to go international, and he was going to start prowling the world and setting up captures in every corner of the world, every part of the world, and start collecting very rare, very endangered, truly expensive butterflies. And he became the king of butterfly collectors. He would get any butterfly anybody in the world wanted that even museums couldn't get. He was famous, and every year he would go to the book fair at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History, and just like bees to honey, all these people who collected butterflies would just flock to Yoshi, because everything on the front was legal, but underneath he'd have all the illegal stuff, and he'd pull it out, show it, sell it, or he would take orders. And what happened is, and this is almost too good to be true, it's like Hollywood, I love it, a rookie agent who started with Fish and Wildlife, his boss said, okay, we're going to let you get your feet wet. We're going to send you out to the Museum of Natural History. Go and keep an eye on Yoshi. There's a dealer who wants to work as a confidential informant. We're going to wire him up. You stand in the background. Just watch what goes on. And so the dealer, who was also working at the book fair, went there and cozied up to Yoshi, thinking he's going to start to get all this information. He ended up going back to his table, and Ed got bored. Ed Newcomer. Great name. And he started walking around the fair, looking at all the vendors' tables, and inevitably he wound up at Yoshi's table. Ed was a young, good-looking guy, clean cut, really innocent-looking. Started asking Yoshi questions. And Yoshi turned around and thought, who's this guy? Started talking to him. Ed pretended he was a butterfly enthusiast who wanted to start a butterfly collection. By the end of the fair, he was walking around again. He feels a tap on his shoulder. He turns around, and there's Yoshi with a box, like a cigar box. And he hands it to him, and he goes, this is to start your collection. And on the top is his name, his phone number. Ed goes running back to the office, calls into his boss, tells her what's happened, and she goes, forget the undercover guy. You're the new undercover guy. And that's how the case started. It was a 3-year undercover sting that had the most twists, turns. It's this dark, wacky case. I couldn't believe it all. It's unbelievable. If it were fiction, somebody would say this is not possible. You have made a villain that couldn't possibly exist. There's no way to create Yoshi. The case went on for 3 years. He was finally able to catch Yoshi. when that happened, Yoshi was in prison here for a few years, for 21 months, was released. The whole time, he refused to talk to any journalist when he was in prison, when he got out of prison. And so I decided, after I got working on this story, the more I worked on it, Yoshi started becoming my Moby Dick. He was my great white whale. And I knew to end the story, I had to put a period on it. I became obsessed with Yoshi. I had to find Yoshi. I had to talk to him. Without knowing anybody in Japan, went to Japan, I went undercover, I managed to track him down, and I ended up becoming his new best friend. And you'll read in the book what happened, but it's a weird, weird tale, and I am just learning now that Yoshi didn't know who I was. I don't think he probably knew who I was until maybe a couple days ago when this story began to break, and it hit what's known as butterfly listservs on the internet and began going around the world with all these groups like wildfire, who are now, half of them are trashing me, half of them are defending me. So it ought to be interesting. But I am going to the LA Book Fair in May. I'm going to go sell the book. So we'll see what happens. And I have 3 guys who already volunteered to be my bodyguard. So it should be exciting. But it is an amazing story. It's probably the most, I've done a lot of wacky things writing every book. As you guys know, have heard me in book club speaking. A lot of insane things. This is probably the most insane I've ever done. And I can only hope to top it.